Well, hey, welcome back to Pommy in Oz, and I'm excited about this one. I get to preview a final. I've been doing this for 3 and a bit years, and usually it's complete tosh. At this stage, we're talking about who's Carlton selecting, and we're in a final. I'm usually just the neutral in this one, and I can't wait to watch a final with everyone and be part of it and be part of the banter. And we've got a great one here. We have got Sydney Swans, last year's runners-up, 750, MCG, the bright lights, and I can't wait for this one. I am eager to get into it. So without any further ado, let's get into it. And there's our boy, Patrick Cripps, holding the trophy. That is what I want to see. And these are the stats from the last 5 games. And what do we know about Carlton? What do the media talk about? The stoppage geniuses, the clearance geniuses, the tough boys, the big boys, the hard boys. These boys here have been flying. They're the number 1 contested side. They are one of the number one. They are the number 1 ground ball get side. All them pressure indicators are good. And number 1 for points in clearance and differential, and defensively they have conceded the second least goals per game, and they only concede a score from 40% of the opposition's inside 50, and that is really strong. A 60% kicking side with a very strong discrepancy, and it's been made up there of Carlton's high press. Carlton commit numbers around the ball and around stoppages, them handball chains that we see almost going that low 50%, and it's really interesting. Carlton have been really adaptable in the last 5 weeks as well. So these stats there, the 50, just under 54 inside 50s, and this is probably the weak area from Carlton. They're not getting deep enough the last 5. That has kind of been from change of personnel. No Harry, they haven't had much chance to implement that, and I expect to see that return to form. But a staggering 78.6% of the opposition's inside 50s are turned out. And that is a real strength of Carlton with 16.2 metres per game. And they are looking to be direct. Carlton have really showcased that in the last 10 weeks of the season. Hence winning 9 and only losing 10. And we talked about the contested possessions and the clearances. Plus 14.8 and plus 3.8 from clearance. This is Carlton's bread and butter. They're a tough side. They're not ashamed of it as well. And when you look at their personnel, they have owned their brand and focused on the ball movement that really ascertains that maybe lack of raw pace and created that pace fictitiously with the movement of the ball. This area of concern, Mark's inside 50 rate. Outside of Charlie, they're not quite getting them deep launches. But now with Harry returning, I would expect to see that be anywhere from 25 to 30 in the next couple of weeks. And it's going to have to be. The tackles, though, they are strong. They have been putting that pressure on. And they've also been showing that they can absorb pressure pretty well. As showcased when we talked about Melbourne earlier against Collingwood, one of a very good pressure-based side. And also against Collingwood, Carlton's ability to take contact and hit handballs from that contact has been a real poignant moment of Wazze's game plan. It's almost like a run and stun. It lulls the second person in, and just under 41% of chance creation, which has been the issue. Carlton needs some quality entries, and that is something that we suspect will happen now. You've got Cerra and Walsh, particularly Cerra, who was really creating a lot of Carlton's quality chances at the start of that run. Sydney Swans, they're no mugs, and it's no surprise that they're here. They had a late surge into this, and in the last, and like Carlton, 4 out of 5 of their last wins, and they've been decent wins as well, albeit against no one playing in the 8, aside from GWS, but they have won them games quite comfortably in the end, and they are a very heavy kick side, and that is very interesting, right? You see, once it goes over the 60% there, that is where you're playing in to them little areas and them corridors of. And Carlton will be looking here at, they are the worst side left in first possession, clearance differential, hit outs to advantage, scores, right? Left in the 8 in clearance and stoppage, and Carlton will be looking at this and going, this is where we can do this. Against them, though, they are the number 1 right? They are the #1 scorers from turnover, and that's okay for Carlton. Carlton will be looking at this and being so worried about it in the terms of that their turnover game themselves hasn't been so bad. They're actually the second least turnover side in this of creating turnovers. So only behind Sydney themselves, and that's going to be interesting because Carlton's pressure numbers have been stronger, but their ability to hold against pressure has been telling. But what Sydney do very well, very, very well, is their ability to counter-punch. They do soak up the pressure. Their ability as well at the ball, on the ground, in the forward 50, where Carlton's strength is, has been good. And they play a very deep forward press. They don't mind you getting it out. They're looking, once you get into midfield, to really apply that. And particularly in their back half of the ground, that is where it is. And hence their strong rebound 50 rate, just under 78%. Real strong. And like we say, their meters gained, they're a very direct game. They're a very direct team. They look to move the ball very quickly, and they look to move it as sharply as possible. But as we said, contested possession differential and clearance way below where you'd expected. -7.6 and -3.2 for clearances. This will be an avenue that you've got to be good at to beat Carlton, and that has been a common thing. You go back to when we lost as well. This is where teams beat us up. The marks inside 50. See what we said about Carlton. Still not super strong. And their targets are relatively raw, you would say, in this game. And that's going to be something that Carlton will look at to take advantage of. Carlton have been looking against these sides that don't quite mark heavily. When you're going up against players like Amati, McDonald, McLean, Carlton will be looking here to really look to intercept their marks. Again, a strong tackling side, as you would expect. And that is very interesting because, as we said, they're little incidentals here. They're incidentals around stoppage and clearance. Their method around there has been to stop you getting the ball out. Hence the difference in them clearances. They know that's their weakness and they try and flood that area. And that there, with Carlton's give and go and take the possession, will be an area that Carlton will look. But they've got to be wary of these repeat tackle efforts. And they do make just under 51% of their chance creations. So let's have a look at that head-to-head matching up. So obviously, as we know, Sydney do kick more. But Carlton have been more efficient. They do generate more inside 50s. And their rebound 50 rate is stronger. About a metre in difference in disposal, so very similar, but this is where the strength is. Carlton with plus 22.4 contested differential, particularly if that's wet. There's going to be a lot of stoppages, there's going to be a lot of time where you're clung together. Carlton will favour that. And the plus 7 clearance differential. Marks inside 50 rate slightly in favour of Sydney. As we said, both sides like them effort indicators and the tackles. Sydney do have that. But 10% better chances inside 50 are generated. And that is going to be what Carlton will be looking at. Now, over the last 5 games, how does that look in quarters? Now, Carlton have traditionally started better in the first quarter, with that draw against Collingwood slightly edging it. But both sides have been using the first quarter to really feel the opposition out. Get a sense. Carlton have been looking to, is it a domination around the centre? Is it doing that short hit-up kick on the wing and then switching to the corridor? Is it an early switch? That has been a real noticeable key of Vossi's game, particularly of how they move it out the back half. And that first quarter is kind of the theme for the Blues. In the second quarter, though, Carlton have been quite stagnant, and that has been an issue. We talked about it last week, the other week in the preview. Sydney, though, they drive that home. They look to get that lead at half-time. That is a big thing of what Horse has been doing, albeit Carlton have had tougher opposition. Quarter 3, about the same. Again, a draw separates it. But this is where Carlton have been strong. Carlton, even with their loss last week, the fourth quarter, they have really started to conserve energy, particularly around half-time, to push home and really put the foot down. With just a draw separating these two sides in that avenue, which is a very interesting thing. Them two draws helping them out. 11 out of 20 quarters run versus 10.5. But how does that match up between the two sides? Carlton's defence versus the forwards, they have a win. They have a win. And they will be very, 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 very strong with that. So Carlton's defence there, feeling pretty good. The midfield battles, Carlton are winning that. As you can see, stoppage and clearance, that usually goes there. However, their defence versus our forward line is a win to Sydney. But Carlton are predicted to win this by 13. If you watch my video, I said it would be 4 goals. And TPI is tending to agree with me. And that makes a real exciting time. But make sure you get down there. I can't wait to cover this one. I'll be live as always. Much love, everyone. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And until next time, peace.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby.